The small house at the end of Pine Street looked like every other house in the neighborhood. It had white walls, a short driveway, and a clean yard with trimmed grass. Nothing about it stood out. No loud colors. No broken rules. For 3 years, Mark and his wife Anna had lived there quietly, following the HOA rules just like everyone else. They waved at neighbors. They paid fees on time. They never caused problems. That was why the loud knocking that morning felt so strange. Mark was sitting at the kitchen table, reading on his phone. Anna was near the counter, making coffee. The sound came again, harder this time, shaking the door and echoing through the house. Anna stopped pouring. Mark looked up. That was not a friendly knock. Mark stood and walked toward the front door. Anna followed a few steps behind him. The knocking came again, sharp and demanding. Mark looked through the small window beside the door. His chest tightened. 2 police officers stood outside. They were serious, standing straight, hands near their belts. Behind them stood a man in a neat shirt holding a folder. The logo on the folder was clear. It was the HOA. Mark took a slow breath and opened the door. One of the officers spoke first. His voice was firm but controlled. He said they had received a call about a serious issue at the property. The HOA representative stepped forward and said the house was in violation of community rules and had refused to comply. Mark felt confused and uneasy. He had never received any warning letters. No emails. No calls. He calmly asked what the violation was. The HOA man cleared his throat and looked at his papers. He spoke in a practiced tone. He said the home was reported for unauthorized activity and non-cooperation. He did not give details. Mark felt his hands grow cold. He tried to explain that there must be a mistake. He said they always followed the rules. The officer listened but did not respond much. He looked between Mark and the house, as if deciding what to do next. Anna had been standing quietly behind Mark the entire time. Her face was calm. Her posture steady. She did not look nervous or surprised. She watched the HOA man closely. Mark turned slightly and whispered to her, asking if she knew anything about this. Anna shook her head once. Then she stepped forward. She asked the officers politely if she could speak. Her voice was clear and confident. She said she wanted to understand the situation before it went any further. The officers nodded. Anna reached into a small drawer near the door. She pulled out her wallet. She stepped outside, standing next to Mark. The morning sun reflected off the metal as she opened the wallet and held something up. It was a badge. Not a fake one. Not a toy. It was real. Anna stated her position clearly and calmly. She said she worked in law enforcement and asked why officers had been sent without clear cause. The change was immediate. One officer straightened. The other took a half step back. Their expressions shifted from authority to caution. They looked at the badge closely. Then they looked at Anna again. The HOA representative froze. He stopped smiling. His confident posture collapsed slightly. He held his folder tighter, as if it could protect him. The officers asked Anna a few respectful questions. She answered calmly. She explained that no notice had ever been given. No proper process followed. She asked under what authority the HOA had requested police involvement. The officers exchanged looks. One of them turned to the HOA man and asked him directly to explain the violation. The HOA man stuttered. He said there had been complaints from neighbors. He said the board felt the situation could become serious. Anna asked for documentation. The HOA man flipped through his folder. His hands shook. The papers inside looked thin. No clear reports. No signed warnings. Mark watched the scene unfold in disbelief. Just minutes ago, his home felt under threat. Now the power had shifted. The officer spoke again, this time to the HOA man. His tone was firm. He said that without clear evidence or proper notice, police action was not appropriate. The HOA man tried to argue. He said the board had authority. Anna responded calmly. She said authority had limits and rules applied to everyone. Silence followed. The sound of birds filled the street. A neighbor across the road peeked through a curtain. The officers thanked Anna for her cooperation. They apologized for the disturbance. They said they would note the situation and leave. Before they left, one officer gave the HOA man a serious look. He advised him to follow proper steps in the future. The HOA man nodded quickly. He did not argue anymore. As the officers walked away, the HOA man backed down the driveway without another word. His face was pale. His confidence gone. Mark closed the door slowly. Inside the house, the air felt different. Quiet but heavy. Mark turned to Anna and asked how something so small had become so big. Anna placed the badge back in the drawer. She said softly that some people used power carelessly. Others assumed they could push without resistance. She said that was why rules mattered. Outside, the street returned to normal. But for Mark and Anna, it was clear that this was not the end. Someone had tried to make an example out of them. And now that person knew they had chosen the wrong house. The house felt quiet after the door closed, but the calm did not last long. Mark sat at the kitchen table, staring at the wood surface as if answers might appear there. Anna stood near the window, watching the street. The HOA man had already turned the corner, but the feeling he left behind remained. Mark broke the silence. He asked why the HOA would go so far as to bring officers without warning. Anna answered honestly. She said some boards relied on fear instead of fairness. When people did not question them, they pushed harder. That afternoon, a letter appeared in their mailbox. Mark noticed it first. The envelope was thick and stamped with the HOA logo. His stomach tightened. He carried it inside slowly, as if it might explode. Anna opened it and read every line carefully. The letter claimed that Mark and Anna had violated community standards by using their garage for unauthorized purposes. It demanded immediate correction and included a threat of heavy fines. Mark felt anger rise in his chest. He said the garage only held tools and boxes. Nothing else. Anna nodded. She said the accusation was vague on purpose. Later that evening, a neighbor named Tom knocked on the door. He lived 2 houses down and usually kept to himself. He looked nervous, glancing over his shoulder before speaking. Tom said he was sorry. He admitted that the HOA had pressured residents to report anything unusual. Someone had seen Anna coming home late in work clothes and made assumptions. Mark clenched his jaw. Anna remained calm. She thanked Tom for being honest. She told him he was not in trouble. Tom looked relieved and said the HOA president had been pushing hard lately, threatening people with penalties if they did not cooperate. After Tom left, Anna sat down with Mark and explained her plan. She said they would not react with emotion. They would respond with facts. The next morning, Anna requested a formal meeting with the HOA board. She asked for all complaints, records, and proof. She sent the request by email and certified mail. Within hours, the reply came. The HOA president agreed to a meeting but insisted it be held at the community hall with full board attendance. The tone of the message was stiff and cold. Mark felt uneasy. Anna felt prepared. On the day of the meeting, the community hall filled slowly. Board members sat behind a long table. A few residents sat in folding chairs, whispering to each other. The HOA president sat in the center, arms crossed, wearing a forced smile. Mark and Anna entered together. The president opened the meeting by accusing them of refusing cooperation. He claimed they disrespected community authority. Anna waited until he finished. Then she spoke. She asked for evidence. She asked for written notices. She asked for the legal basis for calling officers without cause. The room grew quiet. One board member shifted uncomfortably. Another avoided eye contact. The president presented photos of their garage door closed. He said it proved secrecy. Anna responded calmly. She explained that a closed door was not a violation. She cited HOA rules line by line, showing no rule had been broken. The president grew irritated. He raised his voice slightly. He said the board had the power to enforce standards. Anna reminded him that power required responsibility. She then revealed that she had already documented the officer visit and the lack of cause. She explained that misuse of authority could bring serious consequences. The board members exchanged looks. A woman on the board spoke up. She said she had not approved calling officers. Another member agreed. The president's face tightened. Residents in the room began whispering louder. Someone asked why the board had not informed everyone. The meeting shifted. What started as an accusation turned into questions. Residents asked about fines, about threats, about pressure to report neighbors. The president struggled to respond. His answers became unclear. Anna stayed calm and focused. She did not raise her voice. She simply asked clear questions and waited for answers. By the end of the meeting, the board voted to pause all action against Mark and Anna. They agreed to review procedures and issue a public explanation. The president did not look pleased. Outside, Mark exhaled deeply. He said he never expected a simple home to become a battleground. Anna said it was not about the house. It was about control. That night, Mark received messages from neighbors. Some apologized. Others thanked them for standing up. A few shared stories of unfair warnings and sudden fines. Anna listened carefully. She began taking notes. She knew this was bigger than one complaint. The next morning, another letter arrived. This time, it was different. The tone was polite. It stated that the HOA was reconsidering recent actions and would suspend enforcement until further notice. Mark smiled for the first time in days. But Anna did not celebrate yet. She knew when pressure was applied, cracks appeared. And once cracks formed, the truth started to show. As the sun set over Pine Street, the neighborhood looked peaceful again. But beneath the quiet surface, something had changed. People were watching. People were talking. And the HOA president was no longer untouchable. The days after the meeting felt different on Pine Street. Neighbors no longer avoided eye contact. Some waved. Others stopped to talk. The silence that once protected the HOA leadership was gone. Mark noticed the change first. While taking out the trash one morning, a woman from across the street thanked him for speaking up. She said she had paid unfair fines for years because she was afraid to question them. Mark listened quietly. He realized how deep the problem went. Anna spent her evenings reviewing HOA documents. She printed rules, meeting notes, and past notices that neighbors shared with her. The patterns became clear. The same few names approved fines. The same president signed warning letters. Complaints often had no proof. One afternoon, Tom came by again. This time, he brought a folder. Inside were copies of emails. Messages from the HOA president pressuring residents to report each other. Some emails hinted at penalties for those who stayed silent. Anna read them carefully. She thanked Tom and told him these messages mattered. Word spread quickly. More neighbors came forward. A retired man shared receipts showing fines charged twice. A young couple showed letters threatening penalties without explanation. Mark watched Anna work. She stayed calm and focused. She never rushed. She never showed anger. She treated every person with respect. Soon, a small group of residents began meeting at Mark and Anna's house. They sat around the table, sharing stories. Everyone spoke carefully, afraid but hopeful. Anna explained their options. She said change required structure, not noise. They needed records, votes, and transparency. The group agreed. They drafted a formal request for a financial review of the HOA. According to the rules, residents had the right to request it with enough signatures. They collected signatures over the next week. Some people hesitated at first, but once they saw others signing, they followed. Fear slowly turned into confidence. When the request reached the HOA board, the response was delayed. Days passed without reply. Then a notice appeared on the community board. It announced an emergency HOA meeting. Mark and Anna attended. The room was fuller than before. Many residents stood along the walls. The president looked tense. His voice lacked its usual strength. He claimed the review was unnecessary. He said the board acted properly. Anna asked one simple question. She asked why transparency was a problem if nothing was wrong. The room went quiet. A board member raised her hand. She said residents deserved clarity. Another agreed. The president tried to regain control. He warned about costs and delays. Residents pushed back. They said they were already paying costs through unfair fines. The vote was called. The review passed. The president's face hardened. He ended the meeting quickly and left without speaking to anyone. Over the next few weeks, an independent reviewer examined the HOA records. The findings shocked many residents. Funds were used without clear approval. Fines were issued inconsistently. Rules were enforced selectively. Nothing illegal was stated, but the misuse of authority was obvious. The report was shared with all residents. Reactions were strong. Some people were angry. Others felt relieved that their doubts were confirmed. Anna encouraged calm discussion. She reminded everyone that fixing the system mattered more than blame. Soon after, a notice appeared announcing upcoming board elections. The timing was not a surprise. The president announced he would run again. He said stability mattered. But this time, others stepped forward. A teacher, a retired nurse, a small business owner. People who had stayed quiet before now felt ready. Mark supported Anna quietly. He watched neighbors help each other write speeches. Flyers appeared on doors, sharing ideas instead of threats. The day of the election arrived. Residents filled the hall. Some stood outside, waiting their turn to vote. The president sat alone at the front. His confidence was gone. The votes were counted slowly. When the results were announced, the room reacted with applause. The president lost his position. New members filled the board seats. The mood shifted from tension to relief. After the meeting, neighbors gathered outside. Some smiled. Some wiped tears. Change felt real. Mark looked at Anna and asked if it was finally over. Anna shook her head gently. She said systems needed care. Power always needed balance. In the following days, the new board canceled unfair fines. They issued apologies. They opened communication channels. Trust began to rebuild. One evening, Mark and Anna sat on their porch, watching the sun set. The street felt peaceful again, but different. Anna said this was never about winning. It was about reminding people they had a voice. Mark nodded. He realized how close they had come to staying silent. As the lights turned on across Pine Street, the neighborhood felt stronger. But deep inside, Anna knew one thing. When power is challenged, it rarely disappears quietly. And not everyone accepted the change. The weeks after the election were busy. The new HOA board worked hard to fix old mistakes. Meetings were open. Notes were shared with everyone. Residents felt heard for the first time in years. Mark noticed the difference quickly. The warning letters stopped. The sudden fines disappeared. People walked more freely in the neighborhood, no longer afraid of small mistakes. Anna stayed involved but careful. She reminded the board that trust took time to rebuild. She encouraged them to follow the rules closely and document every decision. Most of the board listened. But not everyone was happy. The former HOA president did not leave quietly. He stopped attending meetings, but his presence was still felt. He spoke to a few residents privately. He claimed the new board was weak and careless. He warned that property values would fall. Some residents believed him. Fear does not vanish easily. Soon, small problems began to appear. Anonymous notes were left on doors. Rumors spread that the HOA funds were missing. Someone claimed Anna was controlling the board from behind the scenes. Mark heard the whispers at the grocery store. He felt frustrated. He wanted to confront people directly, but Anna advised patience. She said change often brings resistance. One afternoon, the new board received a formal complaint. It accused Anna of using her background to influence HOA decisions. The letter demanded an investigation. The board informed Anna immediately. Mark felt anger rise again. He said they were being targeted. Anna remained calm. She said the best response was honesty. She asked the board to make the process public. She said transparency would protect everyone. The board agreed. A special meeting was announced. Residents filled the hall once again. The atmosphere felt tense. The former president attended. He sat in the back, arms crossed, watching closely. The board chair explained the complaint and invited Anna to respond. Anna stood and spoke clearly. She explained her role. She said she was a resident like everyone else. She shared emails and messages showing she never pressured the board. She showed how decisions were voted on openly. She reminded everyone that speaking up did not mean controlling others. Residents listened carefully. Then something unexpected happened. Tom stood up. He admitted that he had been one of the people who believed the rumors at first. He said fear had clouded his judgment. But after seeing the documents and open meetings, he realized the truth. Others followed. A woman said the former president had warned her that speaking out would bring trouble. A man said he was asked to spread doubts about the new board. The room grew quiet. The former president stood up. He denied everything. He said people were twisting his words. But the damage was done. The board dismissed the complaint. They stated clearly that Anna had done nothing wrong. The room responded with applause. The former president left early. After that meeting, the rumors slowed. People began trusting the process again. The new board released monthly reports. They invited feedback. They listened. Still, Mark felt uneasy. One evening, he noticed a car parked near their house for a long time. It left when he stepped outside. The next day, a neighbor mentioned someone asking questions about Anna. Mark told Anna. She frowned slightly but stayed composed. She said they needed to stay alert, not afraid. A week later, a legal notice arrived for the HOA. The former president had filed a claim against the board, accusing them of unfair removal. The board called an emergency meeting. Anna attended as a resident, not a leader. She listened as the board discussed their response. They had followed the rules correctly. Votes were documented. Notices were given. They decided to respond calmly with facts. The process took time. Weeks passed. During that time, the neighborhood stayed united. Residents supported the board. They attended meetings in large numbers. They showed that the community mattered more than one person's pride. Finally, the claim was dismissed. The decision stated that the election and removal were valid. Relief spread through Pine Street. Mark felt a weight lift from his chest. He realized how much stress he had been carrying. That evening, neighbors gathered outside for a small get-together. Nothing formal. Just people talking and laughing. Children played. Adults shared food. The street felt alive. Anna stood quietly, watching the scene. Mark asked her if she ever regretted stepping forward. She shook her head. She said silence would have been worse. As the night grew darker, lights from the houses created a warm glow across the street. Pine Street felt like a community again, not a place of fear. But Anna knew one thing remained. Trust had returned, but vigilance was still needed. Power had changed hands, but systems only stayed fair when people stayed involved. As Mark and Anna went back inside, Mark asked what came next. Anna answered simply. She said the final test was whether the neighborhood could protect itself without her. And that test was just beginning. Life on Pine Street slowly settled into a new rhythm. The drama that once filled every conversation faded into memory. The new HOA board continued its work quietly, focused on fairness instead of fear. Meetings were shorter. Decisions were clear. People trusted the process. Mark felt lighter each morning. He no longer checked the mailbox with worry. Letters now shared updates, not threats. The neighborhood felt like a place to live again, not a place to survive. Anna stepped back from active involvement. She attended meetings when needed but spoke less. She believed the strongest systems worked without depending on one person. She wanted the community to stand on its own. At first, some neighbors still looked to her for guidance. She gently redirected them to the board. She encouraged questions, not reliance. The board grew more confident. They handled minor issues calmly. They listened before acting. Mistakes were admitted and corrected. One afternoon, Mark noticed a young couple moving into the old house near the corner. The same house that once had the most complaints. Instead of warnings, neighbors brought welcome notes and food. Mark smiled. That evening, the board released its annual report. It showed balanced funds, clear expenses, and reduced penalties. It also announced a new rule. Any future complaint required clear proof and open discussion. Residents praised the change. Anna read the report quietly. She felt proud, but not relieved. She believed communities needed reminders, not heroes. Months passed. One day, a letter arrived from the former HOA president. It was short. He stated that he was moving away. He wished the neighborhood well. Mark read it twice. He expected anger. He felt none. Anna said it was over when people stopped needing to fight. Soon after, the neighborhood held its first open forum. Anyone could speak. Ideas were shared. Concerns were discussed respectfully. A woman suggested a shared garden. A man proposed safety lighting. A student offered to help design a website. The energy was positive. Mark spoke briefly. He thanked everyone for choosing fairness. He said the house at the end of Pine Street had taught him something. Silence followed. He said power only felt strong when people gave it fear. When fear left, power changed shape. People nodded. As the meeting ended, Anna watched quietly. She felt something rare. Peace. That night, Mark and Anna sat on their porch again. The same place where worry once lived. The air felt calm. The streetlights glowed softly. Mark asked Anna if she missed the intensity, the challenge. Anna smiled slightly. She said she never enjoyed conflict. She only respected responsibility. She reminded him that real change happened when ordinary people chose not to stay silent. Weeks later, a letter arrived from the city. It stated that the HOA had been recognized for improved transparency and resident involvement. The board shared the news. People celebrated briefly, then returned to normal life. That was the greatest sign of success. Normal life. One morning, a new HOA president stopped by Mark and Anna's house. She thanked them for their courage. She said their actions changed everything. Anna responded kindly. She said the neighborhood did the work together. The president left. Mark turned to Anna and asked if she ever worried that stepping forward would have consequences. Anna answered honestly. She said fear was always present. But living under unfair control was worse. As seasons changed, Pine Street remained steady. Children grew. Homes aged. Rules stayed fair. The story of the officers knocking became something neighbors shared quietly with new residents. Not as a warning, but as a lesson. Do not assume authority is always right. Ask questions. Stand together. One evening, Mark found the old HOA letter in a drawer. The one that started it all. He considered throwing it away. Anna stopped him. She said keep it. She said reminders mattered. Mark placed it back carefully. Years later, Pine Street would look the same to outsiders. Clean houses. Quiet nights. Normal lives. But those who lived there knew better. They knew what happened when fear met calm. They knew what happened when one badge revealed truth, not power. And they knew that communities did not stay strong by accident. They stayed strong because people chose to protect them. Mark and Anna never became leaders. They never sought attention. They simply lived their lives. But Pine Street remembered. And it stayed awake.